Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Worsfold Company of Insurers Common Hall 2020. As you know, this is an entirely virtual event, apart from the 6 participants we have here in the National Liberal Club to take part in tonight's meeting. Everyone who is here, the master and the wardens and the clerk, they've all had their temperature taken together with the production crew that is supporting tonight's event. So we have done everything we possibly can to make sure that the master and everyone participating in the event here at the National Liberal Club is safe. As you know, there are going to be opportunities for you to ask questions during the evening and to vote on various items. And this will be done using Slido. Now, many of you may be familiar with this, but it might be new to some of you. So we thought that we would start this evening with a vote just to get everyone familiar with the technology, and also so we can capture some useful information for the future for this type of event. So you should shortly see a poll on your screen. What type of device are you watching Common Hall on? Are you watching it on a smartphone, on a tablet, on a laptop, a desktop computer, or have you been a real tech whiz and streamed it to a widescreen TV in your lounge? So if you can vote on that, just to give us an idea and just to make sure that everyone's happy with the technology that we're using tonight. So I can see that the votes are coming in. They're still changing. Most of you are on a laptop, nearly 2/3 by looks of it. And I think that looks like everyone's voted. So thank you very much for that. And we will be using those polls on and off during the evening. So thank you for that. Now, without any more to do, Common Hall will now begin.
Please welcome the Master, Wardens and Learned Clerk of the Worshipful Company of Insurers.
And the Master will now open Common Hall.
I'm delighted to welcome you all here this evening and to open Common Hall for our first online meeting. So welcome to you all online. I believe we may have nearly 100 people online, as well as the 6 of us that are here this evening. It will be a new opportunity for us and a new change, so hopefully you'll bear with us, and thank you to everybody here tonight who's hoping to make this work. Do you want to say it? So my first duty is to ask members to receive the minutes of Common Hall for last year, Thursday the 3rd of October 2019. And so this is the first online vote. And I'd like to invite you to approve the minutes for the last meeting. Before I do so, I just want to check with the clerk. I don't believe we've had any comments or amendments to the minutes that were posted on the website. Is that right?
No comments or proposed amendments.
Thank you very much. So with that, I'd like to ask everybody to vote to approve the minutes.
So you should now see a poll on your screen. Do you accept the minutes? If you can indicate accept or not accept, we'd be very grateful. And that looks to me as if we have 100% acceptance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yes, we have acceptance of the minutes. One matter I should have asked for initially, learnt of our learned clerk, Learned Clerk, do you believe we have a quorum present here this evening of 20 liverymen?
Yes, Master, we have a proper quorum of 20 liverymen.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So now we move on to item 3. I'm hoping you'll all know that on the website is my full report. I thought, given that we were doing this online this evening, the best thing to do was to write a full report for you. So it's there available on the website in the members area. And tonight I'm just going to give you a short summary of that report. So wardens, past masters, members. This has been an extraordinary year for our company. A year that started with joyful celebrations for our 40th anniversary and then found us in the spring responding to a pandemic that has challenged and changed our country, our industry, and our lives in totally unexpected ways. Very sadly, we have lost some of our members during the year, and some have been very ill. Our thoughts are with them and their families, with the hope they will find comfort and health in the months ahead. Our intention is to remember past masters and celebrate their lives at our next church service. In the meantime, I am very grateful to our company chaplain, Canon David Parrott, for all his support and prayers during the year and for being here with us this evening. When I stood in front of you at Common Hall last October, I promised to do my best to invest in the future of our wonderful company, to protect and build on the precious legacy created over the last 40 years by our wise past masters and members. During this year, I have to be honest with you, keeping my promise has often seemed a very tall order. But with the loyal support and encouragement of our officers, past masters and chairs, and with the dedicated service and hard work of our new clerk, we have endeavoured to keep building that new future for our company, and most importantly, for all the people we support. As the year progressed, sadly, it became clear that all our spring and summer formal events had to be cancelled. But despite the challenges and uncertainties we have faced, we have remained determined and active in delivering on our company's 3 key goals of philanthropy, education, and fellowship. And we have worked hard to invest in the future, ensuring that the livery remains significant and relevant to our industry, our profession, and our city of the future. Members should be very proud of all we have achieved in the immediate response to the pandemic, providing extra support in these challenging times to our society, especially the young and the vulnerable, through our philanthropy, to our profession, the leadership and the talent within our industry, through our education initiatives, and finally to our members with warm fellowship and support. On philanthropy, you will hear shortly from the Chair of Trustees, John Young, on the record level of charitable giving this year, also on the new programmes to support educational development and to invest in the future talent of those entering and within our profession. This can only be achieved thanks to the ever-constant generosity of you, our members, in your regular donations to our charitable trust and in your volunteering support through the company. We must also thank our volunteer representatives who have sustained our valued military affiliations throughout the year and our opportunities to meet cadets and serving personnel, to share our mutual ceremonies and to make contributions that support their sacrifice and service. On education, we have continued to provide topical and engaging forums for career professionals at every level in our industry, and we should be proud of the profile they have achieved for the company. The chairs of INED, Past Master Tim Carroll, and IWIN, Court Assistant Karen Graves, worked especially hard to convert these online, and have generated excellent attendance and feedback, especially for the jointly hosted webinar on culture and respect in June, with speakers from Cambridge University and expert consultancies, which was attended by nearly 200 people. Also on education and fellowship, members will recall that 2 years ago, we launched iEngage to support and encourage younger professionals into the livery. Under the chairmanship of liveryman Josh Breckenfeld, the number of younger members has grown to over 50. And last month, we launched our first iEngage Your Career programme. iEngage will also launch mentoring events later in the autumn, harnessing through iNed the experience and expertise within the company in the true spirit of the livery movement to support younger members on their career journeys in our craft. Josh steps down as chair after 2 very full years, and I am grateful to him for all his hard work and leadership launching iEngage. Lewis Mallet and Sam Ridgewell will be the new co-chairs, continuing our work to invest in the future leadership and talent within our industry and our company. On fellowship, the membership and livery companies, led by Bob Stutchbury and Claire Burrell, have worked collaboratively together on plans to reinvigorate the membership proposition and the events programme. The membership committee have developed a new approach to membership recruitment and to progression within the company, supported by a more professional application process online, which aims to encourage an increasingly diverse membership profile. iWin, with Karen Graves, has also worked in support of this goal, building a collaboration with ICANN, the market's BAME diversity network, to broaden the reputation of this company in the market beyond gender diversity. We hope this work will demonstrate that we are a vibrant and modern livery company, determined to sustain our fellowship where everyone can feel welcome and in a place where everyone can feel they truly belong. In future, we will offer proper ceremonies of celebration for our new members and our new liverymen and women. And so, although sadly I cannot toast them in person tonight as I would wish, I hope you will join me in welcoming 27 new members to the company and also congratulating the 14 new liverymen and women clothed during the year. Still staying with fellowship, we have enjoyed some wonderful events nonetheless this year, including the winter lunch with guest speaker Natalie Adams, the lifeboat crew from the RLNI. We were also able, thanks to our clerk and to our livery committee, to celebrate our 40th anniversary year at the Lord Mayor's Show, with the largest parade team ever and a joyful family-style brunch and tea party at Painter Stainer's Hall. Unfortunately, many of our other events this year have had to be cancelled, and our opportunities to meet in person for the coming months remain very limited. However, our new clerk and the livery committee have continued plans to develop a broader and more diverse programme of events for the future, and thus to deliver more opportunities to meet in warm fellowship, as well as more tangible value for money for our members. More immediately, they have been working with optimism on plans for some online events this autumn, as well as exploring opportunities for smaller group events when these are permitted. Finally, the Secretary and Treasurer of the Whigs, Muir Stratford, has also reported a triumphant win this month, actually last month, against the Insurance Golfing Society to recover and bring home the Phillips Cup, despite a much disrupted golf season, and hopes remain there for more good golf and fellowship in 2021. Meanwhile, we've also been keeping in close touch with the Lord Mayor and the City Civic, as well as with masters and members of other livery companies, especially those masters and livery companies with connections to financial services and insurance. Thanks to those members whom we are very proud to say serve on the City's Court of Aldermen and Common Council, the Lord Mayor is not only knowledgeable about our industry, but also takes time to respond warmly in his expressions of support for our company and for the contribution we make to the city and the livery movement. I'd just like to thank Court Assistant Carl Jarvis as well for all he does to sustain our relationships with the financial services liveries. Finally, and most importantly of all, for the company this year, I am very grateful to the Master-elect David Sales, who led the recruitment of a new clerk to the company. Very important event in any company's life. In July, we were delighted to appoint Victoria King to the post. She excelled in the rigorous selection and interview process against several impressive candidates, demonstrating her broad array of skills and a powerful vision for the future of our company. You should ask her about this vision. It's inspiring. A vision in which the Worshipful Company of Insurers is a role model for other companies, a modern, relevant, and efficient company, making significant social contributions with our philanthropy and education initiatives, with strong relationships across the industry and the livery, and playing a role as a significant leader of the livery movement in the City of London of the future. It just blew us away, didn't it? We are lucky to have Victoria as our new clerk, and I know she will deliver on this vision for us for years to come. She's also excellent at operational delivery, working very hard during the year with our accountant, Zoe O'Brien, our trust administrator, Katie Penny, and our media consultant, liveryman David Worsfold, to keep close control on our company's finances, to manage the company's communications, to launch our new website, suddenly and unexpectedly, a huge project for them, and to update the company's administrative processes. That is ongoing, and that is to make them fit for purpose for the future. The Treasurer, Simon Byrne, will shortly report on the 2019 year-end accounts, and also on the forecast for this year-end, from which members will see that despite all the challenges of this year, the company remains in good financial health, and we expect a surplus contribution to company reserves. So, in conclusion, I am delighted to say that the company remains in a robust position, with a talented and increasingly diverse membership, a modern and proactive charitable trust, well-funded through our members' generosity, a vibrant programme of relevant forums and events, and an increasingly strong profile in the city for our philanthropic and educational endeavours. We have a highly capable new clerk, and, most of all, we have a tremendous new master ahead of us in David Sales, who will lead us into the year ahead. Tremendous new master. As your master in this extraordinary year, it has been a huge privilege to serve you in a 12 months that I will never forget. I could not have done so without the extraordinary support I have received. The extraordinary support I have received from the Master-elect most especially, the Warden, the Treasurer, the Chair of the Trust, and the other chairs, all the other chairs. I thank them wholeheartedly, and their committees and the military representatives for all their hard work over the last year. I also thank all the past masters who've helped me with their wise counsel, their encouragement, and their unwavering support in what has been a roller coaster of a year. Each and every one of the officers and past masters and court assistants, and the chaplain as well, have always been there, as in the oath that we heard, my favourite oath today, have always been there when I called for help and advice and moral support. Each and every one of you, thank you. And I'm very grateful for the trust you have shown in me. Finally, and most especially, I want to thank Victoria, our new clerk, and the team in the office for their commitment, their hard work, and loyal service throughout. And of course, our beadle as well. Our lovely beadle, Chris. It's lovely to see him back here again, supporting us. They are all truly talented, loyal and hardworking, and we are so lucky to have them. In turn, finally, I now promise to support David as our new master. And as I said, I know he will be a tremendous new master in all he does to serve you valiantly in what will be another challenging year ahead, leading our company forward. The worshipful company of insurers, rooted in the past, vibrant in the present, and committed to the future. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. That's a strange experience doing that online. I hope I was doing the right thing. So we will now move shortly on to item 4 on our agenda of Common Hall. I'm delighted to say that is the election and installation of a new court assistant, AJ Gupta, who will join us shortly by video link. But before I do so, I just want to say a few words. AJ is being installed and elected as a new court assistant to fill a vacancy that is left by the retirement of our past master, Bronick Masiada. And I'd like to just say a few words now about Bronick, who not only is our past master, but as many of you know, is an alderman of the City of London, and we're very proud of that. So Bronick steps down here today from our court 6 years after he served the company so ably as our master in 2013 and 2014. Bronick stepped up 1 year early to that role and took the helm unexpectedly, and he did a tremendous job. He built relationships with the Lord Mayor and City Civic and other companies. He profiled the livery company, unknown as it relatively was, across our industry. He built relationships with the industry and with other charities. He also helped the team that launched the project to seek our Royal Charter in 2015. And he was responsible for a lot of the hard work and all the various conversations that had to happen beforehand. Finally, he set up IWIN. And in his year, given there were only 16 women then, he encouraged women into the livery, like myself. He very much encouraged a modern approach to the livery, and I think today we are in his debt. The final thing I think he did, which was very important, was he proposed me. Actually, he seconded me. My true proposal was our master-elect, David, who got me into this in the first place, which I have to thank you or never forgive you, I'm not sure which, and Bronick, who supported and seconded that. And then the following year, in the presence of my dear parents, clothed me in this wonderful livery company. So I'm very grateful to Bronick, who was the master who clothed me, and I'd like to record all our thanks today here at Common Hall to Bronick for his service to our company on the date of his retirement from the court, if I may. Thank you. So now I think we move on to the election and installation of our new court assistant.
I hereby report that at its election court meeting on the 16th of July 2020, the court approved a nomination from Court Assistant Bob Stutchbury for AJ Gupta to become a new court assistant to fill the vacancy arising from the retirement of past Master Masiada. That having duly reviewed that nomination, together with a curriculum vitae and undertaking signed by the candidate, and received the Master's report of interview in accordance with the ordinances of the company, the court agreed to make a recommendation to the next meeting of Common Hall to elect AJ Gupta as a new court assistant.
So AJ is joining us by video link. I hope you can see. I hereby... Good evening, AJ. Good evening. Good evening to you. Thank you for joining us this evening. I hereby invite members of the company, in accordance with the bylaws of the company, to elect AJ Gupta as a new court assistant, effective from the date of this Common Hall.
Thank you, Master.
We now invite members of the company to vote in favour or against on the online voting system.
And you should all see a poll on your screen saying, do you support the election of AJ Gupta as a court assistant?
It's a very strong red bar.
Now is your chance to show your approval of AJ joining the court of the Worsfold Company of Insurers. And it looks to me as if we have 100% acceptance of that proposal, Master.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
By a resolution of the members at Common Hall of the Worsfold Company of Insurers on the 1st of October 2020, AJ Gupta has been duly elected to the court of the company.
So I now call on the court assistant. I call upon you, AJ Gupta, to take your corporal oath and well and truly to execute the office of court assistant in all things concerning the said office.
Thank you, Master. I, AJ Gupta, solemnly declare that I will be true and faithful to our sovereign lady, the Queen, and to her heirs and successors, kings and queens of this realm, that I will be ready at all times to attend upon the Master and Wardens of the Worshipful Company of Insurers upon lawful summons to give assistance and advice to the best of my knowledge and ability, being mindful of my bounden duty to promote the welfare and the art and mystery of the business of insurance, and to seek to maintain its high standard of practice in all its branches.
So AJ, now you can put your badge around your neck.
Thank you, Master.
I now say, AJ Gupta, I install you as a court assistant of the Worshipful Company of Insurers.
Thank you very much indeed, Master.
And may I be the first to congratulate you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well done.
So, we are now going to move on to item 5 on the agenda, which is the report, and I'm delighted to welcome the Chair of Trustees, John Young, to give his in-person report on the Charitable Trust. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Master. Master, wardens, past masters, fellow members of the company. It gives me great pleasure to announce that the second full year of the new Charitable Trust has once again been a very successful one. I think this is probably the last time I shall refer to the new Charitable Trust because, in fact, the memory of the old trusts is now fading gradually into the past. However, it's necessary to mention the old trusts almost perpetually because the two funds that form the new trust are actually reflections of the previous charitable trust that existed until 2 years ago. Those funds we call the General Fund and the Education Fund. Dealing with the General Fund to begin with, this is the fund that is entirely financed by the generous donations of current members of the Worshipful Company of Insurers. The great success this year of this fund and the generosity that is reflected in that is that we have managed to make grants that now exceed £145,000, which is by a considerable margin the most successful year we've had in this fund. It's not quite as successful as is indicated in my written report, which claimed £145 million, as has been pointed out by one or two of my colleagues. So I apologize for my lack of typographical skills, but I still think 145,000 is good. We'll aim for the higher figure next year. The donations, the grants that we make, are broadly divided into grants that we make to our charity partners. These are the regular charities that we contribute to on a predictable basis every year. And then secondly, on a more ad hoc basis to charities who apply to us for grants during the course of the year. We're particularly keen within this to encourage members of the company to apply for matched funding for their own charitable endeavours. This is something which we publicise on the website. We manage to get a few applications every year for matched funding for those who wish to run the marathon, climb Kilimanjaro, cycle to Paris, whatever it may be. But we do have scope for more contributions, more applications of this nature. So if I can encourage all of you who have grand endeavours in mind to think of us, please let me know. As far as the Education Fund is concerned, this is the fund that is made up of the accumulation of contributions and other donations to the old charitable trust that have been received during the last 40 years and now amount to well over £2 million. Because of the limited objects of the original charitable trust that was set up on the foundation of the WCI 40 years ago, the purpose of this trust is to encourage and support the education of those who wish to practice within the insurance industry. Obviously, most of us who are now in the industry don't actually need the support of this part of the fund. As a result, our challenge is to manage to find ways of spending the money in this fund to support those who wish to practice within the insurance industry and who need the money. I'm very pleased to say that over the last couple of years, we found an increasing number of ways of spending this money in useful directions, and these are enumerated in the report. One of our oldest contributions in this area, one of our oldest obligations, is to the brokerage, the last I've mentioned in my report. The brokerage is a wonderful charity, as many of you will know, which supports children coming from state schools within London to consider careers in the City of London. And as well as our long-standing core obligation to support the brokerage to the tune of £50,000 a year, we also are now the primary sponsor of their summer placement programme, which even during the lockdown this summer was able to proceed on a virtual basis. And our contributions there were north of £35,000. The second thing I want to mention is our scholarships that we support for applicants who wish to undertake postgraduate studies with a focus on insurance at what was normally known as the Cass Business School, now known as the City Business School. Last year, we unfortunately were unable to find candidates who were able to take us up on these scholarships. This year, we've been very lucky and we found 3 excellent candidates, to each of whom we were able to award a scholarship of £20,000. And this was a fantastic way of rebalancing what was in ways a disappointing year last year. Then during the course of this year, we have launched further programs. We've launched a regional training program for those outside London in other parts of the country who wish to take the CII professional examinations. Originally, this was supposed to be partly online and partly face-to-face, but I'm delighted to say that those involved in the running of this program were able very quickly back in March to convert the whole thing to an online course. And the pilot program that has taken place during the course of the year has taken place so successfully that we're now looking to scale this up during the course of the coming year to create a much larger number of courses on which I hope to be able to report next year. Even more recently, we have just launched this September what we call the iEngage Noggin Career Progression Program. This is a program that has been in gestation for a couple of years. We thought at one stage that it might be difficult to get it underway, and again, it was originally intended to be a face-to-face program to be launched in the spring. But to my great pleasure, we did finally launch it during the course of the last month. The purpose of the program is to supply non-technical skills to up-and-coming insurance professionals to assist them in the development of their career. The sort of skill that doesn't involve learning about insurance, but learning about some of the softer skills that are required to be successful in the insurance business in London. And the first part of this course has been very successfully launched, but our commitment to that is actually £75,000 a year for 3 years. So it's a very considerable commitment that we're very proud of and that we're hoping will bring great things into this market of ours. And the final one I want to mention is the Into Insurance program which is run by one of our members, Samantha Ridgewell, whose name you've already heard this evening. And this is another wonderful course which is designed to supply skate school children and others who don't necessarily have them with the interview skills necessary to impress when they're applying for a job in the insurance industry. This is now completing its second successful year, and we have every reason to think this should go soaring on into the future. So much for this year. For the coming year, we've created a budget for the General Fund and for the Education Fund. Our budget for the General Fund is slightly below what we actually spent during the course of the last year. Our success during the last year was partly dependent on the fact that we had an unexpected windfall profit in terms of a refund from the Inland Revenue, which made up to £145,000. Our budget so far for the coming year is £120,000, but who knows what may happen, and of course if the generosity of members of the WCI passes even past bounds, we may go soaring even beyond what our success was this year. And as far as the Education Fund is concerned, well, during the last year, I don't yet have the final figures. I believe we spent over £250,000. Our hope for the coming year is we should spend over £300,000 and surpass this year's record. So much for the future, and it only therefore remains for me to say thank you, first of all, to my fellow trustees, who have done very hard work during the course of the past year. They're all continuing in office during the course of the coming year, and I look forward to working with them going forward. And secondly, of course, to the Clerk's Office, who have supplied excellent support during the coming year, without which we couldn't operate as we have. That's it. I'll be happy to take questions later on if any are forthcoming, but otherwise I'll hand over to the rest of the meeting. Thank you.
So I just want to record my thanks. Thank you very much, John, for your report, and to record our thanks here today at Common Hall on receiving the report from the Chair of Trustees. So now we're moving on to item 6 on the agenda, and I can see that our Treasurer, Simon Byrne, is joining us by video link. Hello, Simon. I'm now going to call upon Simon, our Treasurer, to present the accounts to you.
Thank you, Master. I'm going to give a brief synopsis of the company accounts for the year ended 30th of September 2019. As always, they are a year in arrears, and I'll give an update, as the Master just mentioned, about our income and expenditure in relation to the current year. This year being 30th September 2019 has been a good year in relation to our overall surplus. For the first time ever, we've actually got a surplus of over £50,000. I'll give a reason why that surplus was created. But in terms of the income for the year, we had over 500 members for the first time in 2019, and that meant that our quarterage was just over £187,000. Livery fees, we had 11,700, and some freedom fines at 6,450, which meant again for the first time that our income in relation to membership dues was over 200,000 at 205,000. That's just up 4.5% from the previous year, which was at 196,000. So in terms of the function events, we had, as a lot of you attended, the 40th Foundation lunch in June, and that added significantly to the revenue of the company. And the function events, we had £233,000 compared to 136 in the prior year. And actually for the total year expenditure on function events of 186,000 meant that we made a surplus just on function events of 47,000. And that compares to the 16,000 that we had in the prior year. So the main driver in relation to the surplus for the year of 51,000 was actually the 40th Foundation lunch. A lot of effort went into that. I know that we should thank past Master Terry Masters for his efforts and his very strong corralling of the tables and everything else. So thank you very much, Terry. It significantly helped us in relation to our surplus of income for the year end 2019. In terms of expenditure, I won't go through the detailed individual elements, but the overall total was 201,000 compared to 196 in the year of 2018, and that gives us a total of, as I say, 51,000 surplus, and that's the first time we've had anywhere near a surplus of that amount. We normally have a surplus varying between 3 or 4 years ago, £146, to last year we managed 11,000, just 258. So just give a brief element of the actual reserves that we have, because if you remember, in last year we also launched the 40th Foundation Fund with a target of over the next 10 years to try and raise £250,000 in relation to that fund, which would be looking at potentially setting us up for some sort of property deal in the future if it arose. So in terms of the foundation fund, we managed to raise £88,850 for that year at the end of 2019, and we have subsequently had some additional, which I'll mention in a minute, but I will also mention that it's actually still open for donations, so it's not a closed fund in that respect. If you'd like to donate to the 40 Foundation Fund, then please contact Zoe O'Brien, who is the accountant, or indeed Victoria, the clerk. The overall contribution to the reserve funds for the year means that we have 129,000 in our reserve fund as a result of the profit of just over 51,000, and that is pushing us significantly towards our goal of getting roughly 50% of total expenses, which is around about 400,000, as a reserve for future issues that we may have, or where we may have a turn down. So I will pass those on, and hopefully you will approve those accounts in a minute. The year's accounts to effectively the 30th of September 2020, which was yesterday. The income for the year in total is down significantly, as you might expect, roughly 268,000, significantly impacted by the fact that we obviously didn't have very many or much opportunity to be able to do the great events that we obviously have during a normal year. But the actual expenditure currently we're looking at is roughly 254,000. So we are predicting a surplus on the WCI funds alone of about £13,000. So as the Master said, despite this troubled year, we have managed to be able to hold our heads above water, as it were. In addition, on the 40th fund, we've had an additional £18,000 of funds, which means we've got 105,000 at the end of our second year in relation to that. That's all I would like to say in relation to the accounts. I would just like to say thank you very much to Zoe O'Brien, who's our accountant, for the strident efforts that she puts in, and her accounts are always in line and very good. I'd also like to thank the new clerk for her support, and I'd like to wish her well very much in the endeavours that she's going to have in the future. So, Victoria, I wish you well. And after that, I'll pass you back to the Master.
Thank you very much, Simon. Thank you very much for the very comprehensive report you've just given. Before I move to ask members to approve the company accounts, I'd just like to say a very big thank you to our Treasurer. I think he's served us for 6 years, and actually that's been a tremendous service to us in getting our accounts into such a good place. So thank you very much, Simon, and thank you for your report today. I'd also like to echo your comments to record our thanks to our immediate past master, Terry Masters, who led us through that year, 2019, to that extraordinary record surplus, which has gone into our reserves and puts us in a very healthy position And I have to say, I've learnt this year that we certainly are in a healthy position compared to a lot of other modern livery companies. And of course, also to Past Master Masters for the launching of the 40th Fund, very much intended to give us the capital and wherewithal to have flexibility in the future, something that other livery companies have as that endowment, and we didn't. And certainly turning in a surplus of £149 and leaving Insurance Hall focused the mind. And Past Master Masters has helped us think about a longer-term financial future. So thank you to him. I'd like to record our thanks. And also, as our Treasurer said, I would echo the opportunity to say the 40th Fund is still open for donations, and very much is about building and investing in the future of our company. So with that, I'd like to invite members to approve our company accounts for the year end 2019 by online vote.
So you should all see the poll on your screens now, asking the question, do you approve the company accounts for the year ended September 2019? And while you're voting on that, let me remind you that the next item on the agenda is the members' Q&A. And if you do have a question or a comment for the Master or any of the officers, just go to the Q&A tab at the top of your screen, click that, and it will take you to a box where you can type in your question. We look forward to receiving them. And as you can see, we have 100% approval of the accounts for the year ended September 2019.
Thank you very much. So with that, I declare the company accounts approved. So now we move on to item 7, which is members' question time. And as you've just heard, I believe our clerk, you can confirm, we invited members to submit questions or comments in advance.
We did.
Through the office on all the papers and reports we put on the members' area. And I understand we have not received any in advance of the meeting.
Yeah, that's correct, Master. We had a couple of comments on the charitable trust, which the chairman has incorporated into his presentation. But apart from that, we had no other questions.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. So now it's just for me to say we could take questions that are typed during the meeting and compiled by our assistants here. So I can see we have one question coming up. The question coming up here is, Master, the pandemic is still with us and many fellow citizens are suffering in many ways. Can you please update us on members' renewals so far in 2020-2021? So I will be passing that question to the clerk and just giving her a little time to think, because I know she was giving the officers an update on that a couple of weeks ago and indeed in next week. But before saying anything, we did review our financial strategy in some detail during the course of this year through our Finance and General Purposes Committee. And I was very grateful to all the members of that committee and the chairs of livery and membership who helped us do that and think about making sure that we managed our finances carefully going forward. As part of that decision, we made a recommendation to court from that committee in July that our quarterage for this year, 2020-21, would be the increment would not be applied to existing members in order to recognise that some of our company may be struggling to meet quarterage. We also looked at quarterage comparatively, and I've spent quite a bit of time talking to other livery masters, and certainly Past Master Masters also looked at that during his year. And I know that our quarterage is competitive, and indeed any livery companies amongst the financial services group that have been charging a little bit less than us, I think about a quarter of them have been, may be struggling and are looking to increase that in coming years, I think. We very carefully considered what we wanted to do with quarterage and, as we say, sustained the level of quarterage without applying the increment for this year. We also had a new approach, and I'd like to pass to the clerk now because you built a new system to make it easier for people to renew quarterage, and perhaps you could tell us how that's going.
Yes, so we have a new finance system called Xero, and the accountant has been able to send out all of the invoices via Xero, and the feedback we've had is that it's a lot easier to pay the quarterage. We will also say to people that if you do want to set up a direct debit, to contact the accountant directly, and also if you want to spread the cost of your quarterage over the year to make it more manageable. So if you have any issues or questions, please contact myself or Zoe, and we will do our best to help you.
And as far as we've been very pleased, this year we're ahead of renewals. So I obviously wrote to the membership, recognising the point raised in the question from Branko, Bajello Baba, and we acknowledge the fact that it would be difficult for some, but we hoped that everybody would see the value in their membership and indeed continue to help us to do all the good work of philanthropy and education initiatives that we are pursuing.
Yeah.
So,
just on that point, so we are ahead in terms of people paying their quarterage. We've had more payments than we had this time last year at the same stage. October, or when we go out with our quarterage, we do find that will probably be the period in the year where we will have some resignations. I suppose, you know, whatever is going on in the world, people will reevaluate what they are doing. Having said that, whilst we have had a few more resignations than usual, usually from people who live maybe up in Yorkshire or out of London, who don't envisage that they're going to be travelling to London anymore. People may be of an advanced age who don't feel that coming to London now is something they're going to want to do. They have resigned from the company, but I think overall we're very pleased considering what has happened this year. I would say that we haven't really received many more resignations than we normally would at this time of year.
thank you very much.
And thank you to all the members for your loyalty and for staying with us, and we will continue to find ways of you benefiting from your membership, even if at the moment we can't do anything live.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Clark. Completely agree with that. Yes, thank you to all the members. I suppose I would add one further comment on the resignations, just to thank you, Branko. Thank you for your response to that, and also to say that, as I've mentioned in my report, the membership committee has taken a very comprehensive look at our strategy for membership and membership recruitment and progression. And we concluded that the very onerous commitment we require of our members as they join for free men and free women is not necessarily encouraging, certainly encouraging women and maybe people from more diverse backgrounds to join. And we felt very much that we should make a bigger distinction between joining us as a freeman and trying to see if you enjoyed it, and then progressing through the company to clothing status as a liveryman or liverywoman. And that's where the commitment to the company perhaps is increased. So I think what we felt was, in order to, the membership strategy very much is for us to welcome members, but in order to build that diversity of membership, to understand that some people may resign. So the next question that we've got is from Netsai Mangwende. And Netsai, I'm very delighted to welcome you to the company. You're one of our new free women. You joined us earlier in the year. The court welcomed you as a member. And if you had been with us today, I would have loved to have toasted you. And as we say, take wine with the master. But thank you for joining us. You've asked us a fantastic question. How is the WCI responding to COVID-19 and proactively supporting the wider community through our charitable efforts and activities? I think I'd like to ask John to respond to that, because the primary response has been on our philanthropy. Obviously, we've worked on education, but I think mostly through philanthropy. John, are you able to take that for us?
Yes, Master, that's fine. And yes, thank you very much for that very good question. This was an issue that struck the trustees of the Charitable Trust as soon as the pandemic really hit us big time back in March of this year. And when we were looking at what our reaction should be to the onset of the pandemic, we were also in a situation where we realized that we were actually going to have more money to spend than we thought we might have in our budget during the course of the year. And therefore, it was a good time for us to gather our thoughts together. Our initial thought was to go and look around our existing charity partners, the dozen or so charities which we support on an annual basis, to see which of them were likely to be particularly hard hit by the pandemic, either because there were going to be extra calls on their resources or because they were going to find it more difficult than usual to function. And we identified 2 or 3 of those where we thought we were able to make another useful contribution to them. At the same time, we realized that there were probably local charities in particular around London, the sort of charity that's surviving on a couple of £100,000 a year annual budget, where either they were going to have particularly large calls on their resources, or in one way or another, they were going to be finding it more difficult to work. And so we identified 1 or 2 ourselves. We also put an appeal in the WCI e-bulletin for members to come to us with ideas in relation to charities who might particularly need our help. To cut a long story short, we eventually identified 7 or 8 individual charities who we thought we could help in this way, and we made specifically COVID-19 related donations of £30,000 during the period April to May this year. That was the extent of what we could actually achieve out of our budget, but we were very pleased to be able to do that. And we've had a number of letters back from the charities concerned where even our small donation of £2,000, £3,000, £4,000, £5,000 made a considerable difference to them. Looking forward, charities are obviously going to have continuing issues in relation to COVID-19. And so when we're looking at how we spend our money during this coming year, that is one of the things that we will have in mind in terms of deploying our budget. Having said that, just as the UK's medical facilities have to deal with normal emergencies as well as COVID-19, so we have to recognize that other charities are still operating and still have requirements. And so we will be trying to spread our donations so that they cover both those who are specifically affected, but also what I might call our business as usual responsibilities. So I hope that's helpful.
Thank you. Thank you very much, John. I'm slightly conscious of time, so if I may, I'm going to take the next 2 questions, if I can, in general. So we've got a question from Paolo Cuomo, talking about the issue of education, really, where we look at education. With challenges for many starting their insurance careers not receiving in-person apprenticeship, do we have ideas of how WCI activities can support? Well, Paolo, we do, and we are. So if you recall, Chair of Trustees talked about our Into Insurance programme. That has moved seamlessly online. And it was, as I said in my report, extraordinarily humbling and heartwarming to be a coach, a mentor in that networking programme that Sam Ridgewell held. We've had 4 programmes so far this year. They would have been in person, but now they are online. And that's helping young people who are interested in a career in insurance to approach looking for apprenticeships, looking for internships, preparing their CV, preparing their interview techniques, thinking about how to present themselves. We've also supported brokerage CityLink, who have not been able to run their programme for 100 internships this year, but have been doing that online. And furthermore, the charity has also supported them with buying laptops for those students, lending, we think, but it's a lending, laptops for those students who wouldn't have been able to join anyway. So we're looking at all sorts of ways of doing that. Sarah mentions the CII coordination of an apprentice initiative and whether or not the Educational Trust is looking at that. And in fact, we are looking and work collaboratively with the CII on lots of issues, don't we? So I don't know if you want to take that as well, John. Sorry,
I dropped my microphone. I hope you can hear me. Yes, in relation to apprenticeships, this is something that we have specifically discussed among the trustees of the Charitable Trust from time to time. We are indirectly involved, as the Master has just said, in a number of projects which may benefit apprentices. However, we are very open to ideas in relation to any initiative that we might fund which specifically assists apprenticeships. We are looking at assisting in all stages of the life cycle of an insurance executive in the industry. We've got those who are at school looking to enter the industry. We've got things that are going on for those who are looking at postgraduate studies. We're looking at those in the early stages of their careers who are looking to pass the CII exams, who are looking to expand their soft skills. But if any member has any particular idea that might be really focused on apprenticeships, then please do let me know. We've tried to work on this in a number of ways, and we've not found something that really hits the button yet. However, in relation to the reference to CII, I should say that I am myself in regular contact with the CII charitable trusts through Melissa Collett, and also through, in relation to one or two of the other specifically insurance-related charities around the city. So we do pull ideas when we can, and this is one that we've had discussions with, but as I say, without any resultant actual commitment directly focused on apprenticeships so far. So do let me have ideas if you have them.
Thank you, John. I think I'm going to have to draw questions to a close because of timing at the moment. Clark, do you think that's the case? I'm sorry, but I've got one more question coming up, but I think we've run out of time to take it, sadly. So it's Andy Bye there, and Andy, please do ask that question separately and we will get back to you. We'll capture that and get back to you. The only thing I'd like to say, it's great to have all those great questions, and it's great that you're focused on our philanthropy and our education initiatives. I think we should be very proud of what we do. Please contribute. I just wish, if you had been here tonight, that you could have been talking to the past chair and the incoming chairs of iEngage, because this is a lot of what they're doing. Sam Ridgewell, Lewis Maller, and Josh Breckenfeld on everything to do with talent in the company. Also the education subcommittee trustees that work with John, who are just vibrant and full of things. So if you've got ideas and you want to ask, please do. If you want to volunteer to help with coaching and mentoring, please do get in touch, both those within the industry and young professionals. There are lots of opportunities to do that. Thank you very much. So I think with that, it is for me to close one meeting and open the next. Is that right, Clark? So thank you very much, everybody, for attending our common hall today by this extraordinary new approach. I'm hereby closing the proceedings of Common Hall on the 1st of October 2020. I now move straight away to open our court meeting. So I hereby open court meeting of the Worshipful Company of Insurers on the 1st of October, here in the National Liberal Club and remotely. Now, as members may know, we traditionally hold a court meeting. We have 5 court meetings a year, and one of them is held traditionally at the same time as Common Hall, and we invite and enable our members to observe that court meeting, because it's the court meeting that, according to our charter, bylaws and ordinances, we do the important ceremony of installing our new master and our new wardens. So you're all welcome here today to attend and observe this court meeting. So my first order is to ask our clerk if we have a quorum of court assistants attending here today.
Yes, Master, we do. We have
Thank
a quorum
you.
of court members.
We have one small item of business to deal with before we move on to the installation. And that item of business is that I would like to invite the court assistants who are attending the meeting online and here in person to approve the recommendation of the Appointments Committee to appoint Treasurer Simon Byrne and Court Assistant Nicholas Michaelides for a 3-year term of office, having already served 2 3-year terms as provided for in the terms of reference of the Charitable Trust. Could I hereby ask court members here in person to vote in the usual way, and also those online to vote?
So just to stress to those listening online, this is a poll just for members of the court. Thank you.
So thank you. We hereby have, I think, declared that that has passed, that resolution has passed. So without further ado, we move to the third item of agenda, which is the installation of our new officers.
By a resolution of the Court of Assistants dated 16th of July 2020, David James Sales was elected Master of the Company for the ensuing year. I call upon you, David James Sales, in accordance with the ordinances governing the proceedings of the Worshipful Company of Insurers, to take your corporal oath and to well and truly execute the office of Master in all things concerning the said office.
I, David James Sales, solemnly declare that I will be true and faithful to our Sovereign Lady the Queen and to her heirs and successors, kings and queens of this realm, that I will faithfully and justly execute the office of Master of the Worshipful Company of Insurers, that I will endeavour at all times to put in due execution all the lawful ordinances of the company and diligently promote, to the best of my skill, the lawful objects of the company.
So David Sales will now sign the declaration, which has already been witnessed by the clerk.
I invest you, David James Sales, Master of the Worshipful Company of Insurers for the ensuing year. I entrust to you the duties and the dignities of that office, and I welcome you to this chair.
So the incoming Master will now place the badge of office around his own neck. As members who have attended this ceremony in the past will know, it's normal for the outgoing Master to invest the incoming Master with the badge of office. But of course, public health guidance on social distancing requires us to modernise and adapt our ceremony for the current situation.
So, and now I invest you, David James Sales, with the badge of office of the Master. Thank you. Congratulations, David. Congratulations.
Thank you.
By a resolution of the Court of Assistants dated 16th of July 2020, Nicholas John Dunlop and Rosemary Frances Beaver were appointed Senior and Junior Warden respectively of the company for the ensuing year. I call upon you, Nicholas John Dunlop, to take your corporal oath and to well and truly execute the office of Senior Warden in all things concerning the said office.
I, Nicholas John Dunlop, solemnly declare that I will be true and faithful to our Sovereign Lady the Queen and to her heirs and successors, kings and queens of this realm, that I will give obedience to the Master of the Worshipful Company of Insurers, that I will obey all the lawful ordinances of the company and any infringement thereof report to the Court of Assistants. I promise further to oversee the funds of the company that they be duly preserved. All this I promise to do, sparing no person for profit, dread, hatred, or affection.
I call upon you, Rosemary Frances Beaver, to take your corporal oath and to well and truly execute the office of Junior Warden in all things concerning the said office.
I, Rosemary Frances Beaver, solemnly declare that I will be true and faithful to our Sovereign Lady the Queen, and to her heirs and successors, kings and queens of this realm, that I will give obedience to the Master of the Worshipful Company of Insurers, that I will obey all the lawful ordinances of the company and any infringement thereof report to the Court of Assistance. I promise further to oversee the funds of the company, that they be duly preserved. All this I promise to do, sparing no person for profit, dread, hatred, or affection.
And both the new senior warden and the new junior warden will both place their badges of office around their necks.
And I now invest you, Nicholas John Dunlop, with the badge of senior warden. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And I now invest you, Rosemary Frances Beaver, with the badge of junior warden. Thank you for taking that position.
Thank you, Master.
And so now the incoming Master, David Sales, will give his first speech as Master of the Worsfold Company of Insurers.
Immediate past master, senior warden, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for the confidence that you've shown in me by electing me as your master. It's an incredible honour and such a privilege, and I look forward to working with you all. My wife, Karen, is bitterly disappointed that she couldn't be here this evening, but unfortunately, with the COVID restrictions, it did limit our numbers to 6, and unfortunately, she wasn't able to be part of that sort of 6. But she has promised me that she'll be watching this live stream, provided, of course, that it doesn't clash with anything good on television. So fingers crossed that we avoid EastEnders. I think it's true to say that I've been on a very steep learning curve over the past 2 years, and I'm indebted to many past masters for their wise words and encouragement. And I would like to thank especially past Master Rosemary and past Master Terry Masters for their mentoring and patience. I'm also tremendously reassured and lucky to have an astute and trusted friend, Nick Dunlop, as my senior warden, and an experienced court, rich with expertise and sage advice that I know I can turn to in times of trouble. And of course, our new clerk, Victoria, who has already made her mark and demonstrated conclusively what a tremendous asset she is to our livery. And I have no doubt that she will offer me learned counsel and keep me in check. It is extremely sad that our immediate past master, Rosemary, has had such a roller coaster year as master, with the immense disappointment at the cancellation of so many of the key events. But I'm sure that I speak on behalf of all of us by thanking you, Rosemary, for your exceptional and inspired leadership and your energy, passion and care you displayed during your year. Your acute attention to detail has helped us out of many tricky situations. And I really am glad that we are seeing you back, Rosemary, with a renewed vigour as our junior warden. Fingers crossed that when Rosemary's stint comes round again as master, the miserable times that we are currently enduring will be long consigned to history. But for the foreseeable future, it will remain a difficult time for us all. And I'm under no illusion of just how much of a challenge we face to adapt the way that we work to continue to deliver a refreshing and inspiring membership proposition. However, I am comforted in the sure knowledge that we have such a strong and solid foundation of warm fellowship, camaraderie, and a shared passion which will carry us through. We had a new members virtual event a couple of weeks ago on Zoom, and the sheer enthusiasm and sense of pride displayed by our recent new members made me realise just what a special and unique thing that we have here. During her year as Master, Rosemary adopted the theme of Invest in the Future. And I want to build on this during my year and focus particularly on nurturing inclusion and talent in a changing world. I strongly feel that as a livery company, we must reflect the insurance community we are part of and recognise the changing times that we live in. Now is not the time to go into too much detail, but I'm grateful to our new court assistant, AJ Gupta, for giving me an in-depth, personal executive briefing about diversity and inclusion, which I found enlightening. Good progress has already been made in the diversity space, and it is the inclusion part where action is now needed. As a livery, we are already following a number of excellent initiatives associated with this. And via the membership committee, under Bob Stutchbury's leadership, we have already taken a number of very successful steps in terms of attracting new women into the livery and also those from ethnic backgrounds. In addition, IWIN, headed by Karen Graves, continues to command widespread praise and recognition, not only for supporting the professional development of women in insurance, but also for embracing other aspects of the wider diversity agenda. In addition to the other excellent talent initiatives we are already focusing on, iEngage has recently launched their Engage Your Career program, which is a really exciting development. None of these things I can take credit for, but I am determined to do what I can to add further impetus and energy to them during my year. I'm also grateful to John Young, Chair of our Charitable Trust, and Claire Burrell, Chair of the Livery Committee, for always thinking outside of the box, whether that be how best to spend our charitable money so that we can reach those who would otherwise be forgotten, or for organising events for all our members to enjoy, whatever stage they are in their career, so that they can get the most out of their membership. I guess, like most of us, I'm slowly coming to terms with life in lockdown. But every now and again, I get a little bit misty-eyed about some of those things that I miss. When Julie Andrews sang about a few of her favourite things, such as raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, you might be forgiven for thinking that these seem slightly strange choices for a 30-year-old lady, which she was at the time. I can more understand the excitement over brown paper packages, as we've seen plenty of those arrive at our doorstep recently, courtesy of Amazon, not necessarily tied up with string. But that got me thinking about what peculiar joys I have missed during the COVID-19 pandemic restrictions. I missed the satisfaction of beating my fellow commuters to the last seat on the train. I missed chanting baldy refrains at the top of my voice at a football match. And trust me, it's not the same sitting in your own living room. Although my wife Karen belts out a very mean "I'm forever blowing bubbles." But most of all, I miss the close human interface of the London insurance market, which I've been part of now for 40 years. I miss the buzz and vibrancy. I miss brainstorming with colleagues. I miss the casual encounters with competitors and underwriters and the exchange of informal, unattributed market speculation, otherwise known as gossip. For a market that has always proudly differentiated itself with the strength of face-to-face negotiations, for the time being, we have been catapulted into the alien environment of trading remotely via telephone, email, or Zoom. Research shows that these casual encounters and interactions we are all missing out on are strong and important drivers of the dissemination of ideas and information, and they promote creativity and innovation. As a company, I feel we have a unique ability to offer our members fellowship with others, at all levels across the industry, which quite honestly I think will be hard to find elsewhere in the foreseeable future. The INED seminars, ably led by its forward-thinking chair, Past Master Tim Carroll, are a great case in point. They offer unparalleled networking opportunities with senior members in the industry. We're also going to see more of the popular breakfast briefings, which our senior warden, Nick Dunlop, is heavily involved in. I'm lucky. I'm inheriting so many positives. There is another less well-known song from The Sound of Music. I have confidence. Don't worry, I'm not going to sing it. Now, I've never actually seen the film, so I may be taking it a little bit out of context, but for my part, I have confidence that we will soon return to happier times. I have confidence that the insurance industry will emerge more efficient and robust. And I have absolute confidence that we will come out of this, these dark and unsettled times, a stronger and more dynamic modern livery company. And I thank you all for giving me the opportunity of playing a key part in that. Thank you.
The company has long valued its relationship with St Lawrence Jury and its chaplain, the Reverend Canon David Parrott, who is now going to speak to us from the Church of St Lawrence Jury in Guildhall.
A very good evening to you all, and as is traditional, usually a couple of weeks after the installation, we come together to pray for the work of the company in the coming year and to pray for our new master. On most other occasions, this happens a little later, but it's actually quite nice to be completely abutted against the court itself and the common hall itself, so that the different elements that make up our company are all in one place on this occasion, even though we are not. As we come into God's presence, let us seek his loving kindness and righteousness in our lives, and ask him to go before us, that we may be his faithful soldiers and servants to the end of our lives. Eternal God, in whom we have our last assurance, bless, we pray, the work of the Worshipful Company of Insurers. Foster amongst us a sense of unity and fellowship. Grant to those who benefit from our charitable work a true sense of your love and care. Nurture our desire to promote ethical and courteous business. Bless our master, wardens, clerk and officers in their call to serve us in the coming year. And in all things, that we may know you above all others, grant us confidence in your saving grace. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. We also have a tradition in our service after Common Hall to pray for the new free women and free men of our company, 27 this current year. Bless, O Lord, all those who have joined our company in the past year. May they thrive in their professional life, serve this city with integrity and honesty, and enjoy the fellowship of this worshipful company. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. We take also a moment to remember all those of our company who have died in the past year, and to pray for their families and friends. We pray for Brian Denny, Richard Elliott, Colin Murray, David Palmer, John Parton, Alan Trail, and Richard Zamboni. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. And so may God the Father keep you in all your days. May God the Son shield you in all your ways. May God the Spirit bring you healing and peace. And may God the Holy Trinity go before you and this worshipful company in all its doings. And the blessing of God Almighty, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit be with you and remain with you always. Amen. It is traditional that after the service following Common Hall, which has happened here in the church, I attend the Common Hall dinner and say a personalised grace for our new master. This tradition will not be lost today. So although most of us are going for a sandwich or a chip in a few minutes, let's remember those who are joining together in the Master's post-installation supper with a grace for our Master. We dine within this liberal club. It's so much better than the pub. We thank the Lord for food and wine, despite the lack of members fine. With all his skills, our Master new will serve us well and lead our crew. No chance that we'll go off the rails. We trust our Master, David Sales. Amen.
Thank you very much, Reverend Parry. I think that does conclude the business of this evening. It only remains for me to thank everybody that's been joining us online for this event. I'm very, very sorry that you couldn't be here in person. And hopefully we will get an opportunity to get together as a proper livery event at some time soon. But the business of this evening being ended, I now close this court meeting.
And the Master will now leave in procession, led by the beadle, carrying the company's mace.
Be pleased to make way for the Master, Wardens and Learned Clerk of the Worshipful Company of Insurers.